8:30 by my watch, and it's time to start the forum. So if you would, just bow your heads in a moment of silence before we start the forum. Amen. Commissioners, you've seen the agenda for the town forum as presented. You'll have a motion to adopt it. I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Alexander. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. The agenda is adopted. The floor is open for public comment. Where you been, Mary?
Oh, on 118 Shenandoah Terrace. How about yourself? But I'm Mary Standard. I'm a full-time resident of Montreat, and I am here at the public hearing because I need a point of clarification from the council, and you can answer me here. And I'm specifically asking for a point of clarification on the public comments during the Montreat Town Council meeting. Basically, I'm a postcard collector, so I hold on to my postcards. And prior to the 2024 Montreat municipal elections, the committee to elect Jane Alexander and Kitty Fouché mailed a campaign postcard to the local postal customers, something that's fairly common here. The postcard had several bullet points listing council, staff, and volunteer accomplishments, including the bullet point, quote, lifted 3-minute limit on town council meeting public comments, unquote. So that sets the stage for my however, okay? However, the Montreat Board of Commissioners Rules of Procedures, which Angie shared the current rules of procedures, most up to date, earlier this week with me, and in the rules of procedure of the commission, it states in Rule 6, Section B, that the time limit for public comment shall be 3 minutes. So, what be it?
Well, I don't know what was put out in the campaign promise or campaign, but the council's not held by that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
wait a
just
minute,
asking
Mary.
a point of clarification.
Let me finish up, then I'll let you answer, okay? We did discuss doing away with it, and as you know, we don't keep a time anymore and say, 3 minutes, you're out, like we used to. They left it to my discretion. If someone goes over 3 minutes, I try to urge them to hurry up in a polite manner, and then at one time, a couple of people I've had to say, okay, that's it, time's up, and that's it. We just don't put a clock on it. I know when 3 minutes is up. And I know what the procedure says. If we had done that, Mary, there had been many a time I would have yanked you from that microphone, and you know it. You've gone over 3 minutes many times. So it's just to be a little kinder and a little bit more friendly than just saying, whoop, 3 minutes, you're done. We don't do that anymore. I try to use my discretion and speed someone up and get it up that way. So.
It would be good, it's good to have this conversation and have that clarified. I'm one who really, if you're going to have something in your rules of procedure, they can be used appropriately. So my suggestion is to revise that.
Your 3 minutes is up.
Well, thank you. And I did reach out by email to both Kitty.
And I didn't respond because I thought it was a rhetorical question. And whatever I put in writing to you is subject to be picked apart. And
phone calls work.
No, don't do that either. So I didn't answer it because I thought it was a silly question.
Why? You specifically said, and I don't mean to belabor this.
That's all. I'm through.
Well, I'm not. And since
your 3 minutes is up. You've now gone 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
This is public comment time, and this is public forum time. And I didn't come, I came for point of clarification. And it has not been clarified, and I will continue with my statement, 3 minutes or not, that it would be wise for the rules of procedure to actually reflect what one does. And if you want to revise that to say, should generally be 3 minutes and left to the discretion of the mayor, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. But when I do speak, except for the times when I was misquoted in the mayor's reports, and I went considerably longer, I'm aware of that. But I generally do time, I'm pretty good at timing my conversations for 3 minutes. Point being, you're saying it can be longer than 3 minutes. The rules of procedure do not reflect that. And I think it would be wise for you to have rules of procedure that actually have meaning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Who else, please? Anyone else? Public comment? Do you have anything to talk about, Savannah? For a few minutes?
I can give a brief, kind of non-exciting FEMA update. Since the last time we met, we have received an additional payment from FEMA in the amount of roughly $98,000, which is great. The reimbursements are still rolling in. Again, projects, large projects, as projects over $1 million, those have to be complete before we get reimbursed for them. So you'll see those projects, large projects, think of road paving, stream bank stabilization, landslides, those types of things. Those are going to take a little bit longer, but we do hope to start cash flowing some of those here shortly in the next budget year so that we can start getting reimbursed for those larger projects. But things are still moving. I still meet with FEMA weekly and think that we have a pretty good team right now. We just were assigned a new PDMG, who is essentially the person who is our main point of contact that I meet with. And I think that this is an even better team than we had before. So that's great. I think things are getting done. It's just slow, as always.
I noticed that our company that we engaged to advise us and guide us through all the ups and downs, Starnes, what is it? Witherstarn, Withers Ravenel, that they're still in the community mapping and surveying and so forth. Would you explain to everybody what they're doing?
Yes. So they're actually working on a lot of the engineering for us as well. So engineering on culverts, bridges, landslides, anything that needs to be engineered, they're going to be our engineers on those projects, which is great because that means that our engineers are in the same house as our disaster recovery consultant, so the lines of communication are very good, and everybody's very responsive to each other, which is great. But that's why you see their trucks around town. They are mapping, surveying, and they also, Withers Ravenel, hopefully will be helping us apply for state revolving funds. You guys are going to vote on this later this evening. So they're actually taking a look at some of our water infrastructure as well to see what we can apply for this state revolving fund grant to make our water system more resilient.
Savannah, would it be possible for you, and again, no rush on this, but to send us an updated spreadsheet on each project and where they are in the
Yes, I can do that.
series of stepping stones till we get to where we could begin
Yes.
construction, so that we've just got something to talk from when we get questions.
I will do it. And I will say this, too. The hazard mitigation team from FEMA reached out and let us know that we should that they could provide about $45,000 worth of funds to make this building specifically more flood resilient. So we put out an RFP to replace this door at the end of the hallway with a flood-proof door, which FEMA's hazard mitigation team would fully be paying for, no cost to us whatsoever, which is exciting.
Good deal, thank you. Any other questions of Savannah?
George. Oh.
George?
George Sawyer, Chapman Road. I'm a very happy camper tonight for two reasons. Savannah just referred to the surveying team. I had a chance yesterday to talk to the fellows at Chapman Road, and very happy to see them working on our bridge, which needs replacement, so very happy on that count. And I was going to give Jean the opportunity to say how happy we are to see the work begun on the trail, but I couldn't get her attention. She's sitting over there looking at her notes or something. I assume you all have noticed that we've gotten started on the trail, and I had a chance yesterday to talk to the two men who are doing the grading work, and they're excited to be working here and getting that project underway. Great time to be in Montreat.
Thanks, George. A lot going on. Not a lot of people up here yet, but we'll be ready for them here for long. Anybody else? Not? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until 6 o'clock, at which time we start our regular meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Widmer. Have a second.
Second?
Second from Commissioner Blake. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. We stand adjourned until 6 o'clock. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's bow our heads, a moment of silence. Now, last night that you remember Clary Phipps and Al Richardson. Al Richardson served as our interim director here for a while. Al passed away here in the last week or so, so just keep those folks in your memories. Amen. Commissioners, you have the agenda of the town council meeting tonight. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Alexander. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have 2 seconds. I'll take both of them. One from Whitmer and one from Mayor Pro Tem Shea. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. My communication tonight is basically to thank, Barry Creasman and Jared McIntosh and Michael Harrison and Drew Brown and Daniel Wiggs for all the work they did during the back-to-back ice storm and snow. They couldn't do a whole lot during the ice storm. You just can't scrape roads during ice. But they did sand them and so forth. And Barry had to wait on ice melt because it was in such short supply. And finally got that there, I think, at the last minute and was able to take care of the town. But those guys split up shifts. They had a day shift and a night shift, and they had the town covered for 24 hours a day. And they did an absolutely wonderful job. You probably already read the Montreat Minute where they ended up with 26,000 pounds of washed screenings. That's sand. Saw that on an invoice I never have before. And 10,000, huh?
260,000 pounds.
260,000 pounds, right, of wash screenings. 10,000 pounds of ice melt. They did a great job, as usual, and just want to thank them for all of that. I have nothing other than I've already mentioned Al Richardson and
Clary.
and Clary Phipps. Clary, it's Clary was here for so many meetings. She was always present, and when she could come, and then after her husband died, she wasn't able to get here for all the meetings. But just always enjoyed her comments and her questions. Okay, we'll proceed. Consent agenda, Savannah.
Yes, so on the consent agenda tonight are the minutes from the January 8th Public Forum and the January 8th Town Council meeting, as well as the minutes from the January 16th special meeting. That's the consent agenda for tonight.
Do you have any other items?
I don't.
Commissioners, you have the administrative report, planning and zoning, public works and water, sanitation, streets, finance, police, and also the permits and inspection data. Any questions or comments on any of those?
Just to note that Rachel and I were talking about tax ad valorem taxes were down versus the early part of the year, and it's probably just a timing issue, even though our collections are up in the general fund. I do have a question for Savannah. Our expenses were held just slightly below what the projected budget amount was, but I noticed that admin was up about $30,000 over budget. Is everything okay there? Is there any particular reason for that overage?
I will have to look into that and get back to you. Nothing in particular is coming to mind right now. Yes, let me get back to you on that. I'll check in and report back.
Thanks. That's it.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, the floor is open for public comment.
Mary Standard, full-time Montreat residence. I would like to point out that today is the first day of early voting. So if you're not registered, you can register during early voting. So even though Montreat has nothing on the ballot specifically, there are many statewide and county elections which are very important. So that's the first issue that I want to have. Please make sure you're registered. Please make sure you vote. And now for my particular comment, that the town of Montreat will be holding municipal elections in November 2026. That's coming up fast. There will be 3 commissioner seats on the ballot. These will be the seats currently held by, and we appreciate their work, Commissioner Widmer and Blake, who are completing their 4-year terms, and the 2-year term to which Commissioner Dashner was elected in 2024 to fill the unexpired term of Kent Otto. So at this point, even though it's February, it's time to start thinking about issues that are important to you and the community and making your decisions, whether in office or seeking to run, to start making the decisions that you need to make if you choose to step up and run for town council for the town of Montreat. The candidates generally file for running in mid-summer around July 4th. So again, this is my call to vote in the current elections. Prepare yourself and think about the elected officers here in the town of Montreat in 2024, and thank you, in 2026. And thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one approach the microphone, we'll move on. There is no old business to have to be presented tonight. Under new business, the first item is the annual stormwater control measure. Savannah, you want to present that?
Yes, so I'll just start by giving just a very brief background. So as all of you know, we hold an MS4 permit, which is a municipal separate storm sewer system permit. And that permit comes with some requirements, things that we are supposed to do annually. Land of Sky Regional Council manages our permit for us, specifically Mary Roderick with Land of Sky Regional Council. In 2024, we were taking great strides actually, to get our stormwater permitting program in good shape. We have to do some assessments of our stormwater system and so on. That includes inspecting private stormwater systems on private property. We have 52 private stormwater control systems on private property that we're aware of. And this is just to let the public know that sometime in the coming months, we will be starting inspections of those systems. This is kind of our first round of communication. We'll also be sending a letter to those folks. We'll likely get something in the Montreat Minute. So just so it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, we will be starting those inspections soon. And that's really it. Nothing that you all need to do, just for your awareness.
Thank you, Savannah. Item B is consideration of a proposed text amendment to Article 2 and Article 8 of the Montreat zoning ordinance and public hearing. Savannah?
Yes, so this is our sign ordinance. So this will update our sign ordinance to align with state and federal law. It clarifies a lot of our definitions, gets our sign usage rules into compliance, and this has been crafted by the Sign Ordinance Subcommittee. They've done a wonderful job, and they really have worked very hard on this, a lot of meetings and a lot of back and forth through some pretty tedious rules. So this was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously, and we will have the public hearing on that ordinance tonight.
We have a suggested motion.
So we'll need to enter into public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we open the public hearing on the discussion of the proposed text amendment to the sign ordinance.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second. Commissioner Fouché. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Discussion. Public hearing? Anyone?
Would you like me to go through the staff report in a little bit more detail, or do you all want to go in straight into whatever questions or comments that you have? Okay. So the sign subcommittee, which was made up of 3 members from planning and zoning, reviewed the current sign regulations. The goal of the review included better aligning the town's sign regulation with state and federal law, making the ordinance more clear, and suggesting changes that meet the needs of the town, its residents, and institutions. Representatives from Montreat College and the MRA attended the December 11th, 2025 Sign Ordinance Subcommittee meeting and offered feedback on the subcommittee's work. Feedback was also offered by town staff, including the town attorney. On December 11th, 2025, the Sign Ordinance Subcommittee moved to forward their draft text amendments to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. And as I mentioned, the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve that draft and recommended it to the Board of Commissioners on January 15th, 2026. So that is the background as far as their work, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you all have about the ordinance itself. But I'll mention that Clay Hamilton and Gail Sawyer were on the sign subcommittee and are probably much more well-versed in it than I am, and our attorney was also part of those discussions. So whatever questions you have between the 4 of us, we'll try to get them answered.
Commissioners, any questions?
I don't have a question, but one thing that I thought was very prudent was that all the town entities were in that discussion. And I think making that align with our comprehensive plan is really a strategic part of the planning.
Anyone else? Any other commissioner?
I first thank the committee that did a great job, but I do have a number of questions, and it's these ordinances are sort of difficult to figure out. I just want to make sure a number of things are covered, and they've probably been moved and they're somewhere else, but nevertheless, I just feel like I need to ask the questions having reviewed the ordinance. The first question, and this is in the section on definitions, we deleted the definition of an honorarium sign, but it is somewhere in the, and I've got the same place, a couple, an honorarium sign, the concept of that, and why was it deleted, and is it still available to put honorarium signs on boulders, rocks, trees, whatever?
One reason that was removed is a general rule that we were trying to do in writing the sign ordinance that the subcommittee was trying to do. Before I say that, let me take the opportunity to say the members of the subcommittee worked very hard and were excellent. This was 3 very talented people. The ordinance was also, a lot of the heavy lifting was done by Kayla, who has moved on to other things, but her work is in there, and your new interim zoning administrator. One thing that the group tried to do is comport with the Supreme Court's instructions and really the School of Government's interpretations of the Supreme Court decisions that say you shouldn't have to read a sign to regulate it. And I think that's a problem with honorariums, to read a sign, to regulate it. And honorariums can pose a difficulty there. You would have to read the sign to see, is this a wayfinding sign? Like, what kind of sign is this? And there is a gray area in all of this, but I think that that's one reason why honorarium signs were specifically taken out, is it's difficult to tell from a distance what an honorarium sign is. So making the sign ordinance more neutral and say, you can have any sign you want to in these places, was a way that made it constitutionally more safe.
So as I read through this, then I need to, without anybody saying honorarium signs, I need to make sure that, in fact, because the way our little town works and the organizations, we raise money, and there are a lot of honorarium signs here, and prohibiting honorarium signs, whether you use the term or not, would make a lot of signs in this town non-conforming uses and non-conforming, and prohibit additional honorarium signs that are very helpful. I mean, all you got to do is walk around our lake. It's a compendium of honorarium signs, and the ordinance, I need to make sure that we can still have those signs, whether we have a definition for honorarium sign or not. We need to have honorarium signs.
And I wonder if I think a goal would have been to allow those signs in some way, even if the definition was removed. I'm going to turn my head quickly and look at subcommittee members to see if anyone remembers if that specific issue came up. And I'm sorry to reach out to the committee, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have a really good answer.
Clay Hamilton, 160 Maryland Place. Gail,
Gail Sawyer, 324 Chapman.
We discussed a lot about, there were a lot of types of signs where the type was removed from the variance, and it's because, as Brandon said, they have to be neutral.
Section 804 really goes through those that were removed.
Even though that's not spelled out that you can have them, doesn't mean you can't have them.
Right, I understand that. I just want to know where they are so that I can vote for this without, because I'm not going to vote for it if I'm wondering if it's there.
And I think that was one of the terminologies that was moved out to get rid of some of the specificity and be more general in the allowance of what goes, as long as it meets the requirements, to shorten and to make the ordinance more concise.
Okay.
One thing we discussed is that there may be some questions that people don't understand, because there are quite a few changes in the way it was presented. And it might be that an FAQ may be needed after the fact for people who have questions to address things like that. If people say, can I still have an honorarium sign? We could do an FAQ that says, yes, you can. It's just considered a sign. But
and I don't mind doing away with the definition. I just want to make sure I just need to make sure it's covered, that's all.
Instead of saying it's an honorarium sign, it would be, is it a freestanding sign? Is it a sign, a permanent sign? You know, it would just fit into one of those categories.
A sign attached to a wall or, something permanent.
But I guess we can get into it, but then if we're at an institutional building, well, what if it's not what about a sign in a greenway? Is there, I couldn't find in here where you could put a sign on a rock in a greenway on a bench. And I looked through it. And I just need to make sure that somehow fits, because that's the kind of stuff that goes on the way this, I'm not telling you all anything. So I need to I guess that's a question I have, and I wasn't able to see, reading through the ordinance, and I read through it a few times. I wasn't able to see where that fit. And where, I could see we got real neutral about, you have one freestanding sign and you have one wall sign there. But what if there's a sign on a rock and there's a small sign there, and there was an engraved sign exemption of sorts, but did that apply to just the wall sign and the ground sign? Would it apply to an engraved plaque on the rock? I don't know. I'm just.
The intent was to be as flexible as possible.
Yeah.
And there were areas where it said you could have one sign, and we basically took out the number and tried to focus on how much space it took up, things like that. There's also some things for greenways, and I think it refers back to the town to make the decision. You know, they're able to say some things as long as the town approves it. And there's really no limit on the number of signs that somebody could have. So the intent was to make sure that what you want is there. If it could be worded better, you know, that certainly can be addressed.
I just didn't know what, so we'll just set that aside. I know what you're talking about, and there is no limit on private property. I don't remember the greenway. The greenways really aren't, the greenways here unfortunately are sort of they're a mixed bag. They're partly owned by the town, and they're partly owned by, the AMRA has sort of an interest, so it's not exactly that, but.
Can I just comment on one thing, Mason? Section 802 speaks to prohibited signs, and honorarium signs are not in that, nor are a number of other types of signs. So, you know, that I talked with Clay about this, and I felt comfortable that everything had been genericized, if you would. The only thing that I was uncomfortable about was some of the contractor signs. They're allowed, and you told me that there are some good, strong restrictions on those. Is that right?
There's time limits. They only can be where they're working, and they have to be at permission of the landowner, and they're supposed to be removed, I think, 10 days after its completion. So if somebody's working there, you know, the discussion was that it's useful to have that information so that, you know, people know it's not somebody just pulling up and trying to do something they shouldn't. Also good advertisement for them. But you don't want, like we had in our neighborhood, you don't want companies just coming in and putting up signs just because, you know, and they don't have a project they're involved in. Those are not allowed. But if it's a business sign that they're actively involved in, they're supposed to remove it after 10 days. And I think Savannah and the town are pretty good about following up on that, you know, if they're alerted to the issue.
I do have one, you know, later I've got a question about signs and whether we do in fact prohibit ABC Gutter Company putting in temporary signs up and down the right-of-way of the town. And
yeah, not allowed.
I understand. I couldn't see it though, so I'm sorry, and I looked hard.
Yeah.
Let me just move on. 801 and 802, at the end of both of them, we talk about enforcement actions pursuant to, this is just technical, Brandon, for you. It says this subdivision, or rather this subsection, and I think what it really should say is pursuant to sections 305, 306, and 307 of the ordinance, because the subsection, well, it just, at least, doesn't make any sense to me. Because the subsection is 801.2, and it's referring to the enforcement action pursuant to this subsection. There's nothing in this subsection about enforcement.
I think,
Go ahead, Brandon.
I think that may make sense. Again, I'm never surprised when Commissioner Blake's legal edits make sense. I'm still stuck on his first one, scrolling through the ordinance over here, so I think there are going to be a few that I'm going to recommend putting a pin in and letting us circle back to. But I think that may be right. Just generally, there was an effort to, when we could, make a reference to a subsection, to do that rather than calling out a specific number, because when future edits are made, it just
understand.
makes it a little easier.
And
But I
if you
think you're
wanna
right
say,
here.
That was it.
Subsections, applicable sections of chapter 3, whatever, wherever 305, 306, 307, I believe that's in general administration, in the enforcement, general enforcement provision. So I understand wanting to be more general, and I get it. But this subsection just doesn't connect to any enforcement.
What was the number?
What specifically were you looking at?
What specifically, I'm looking at the end of 801.2 and 801.3. It says the zoning administrator shall proceed with enforcement pursuant to this subsection. Well, there's,
Okay.
and then it says upon the failure of the owner to correct this condition, the zoning editor will proceed to enforcement. Well, there's nothing about enforcement. It says the zoning administrator gives notice, and then if they don't respond to the notice, they proceed with enforcement. Well, there's no enforcement provisions here. All those are back in the administrative provisions, which is where you're trying to get to more general stuff, but that's back in 305, 306, and 307.
That may have been just something that was overlooked.
Yeah, I know it is, and I apologize for being a nitpicker, but
No,
I've lived with ordinances all my life, and they're just best caught on the front end when you get as many eyes on them as you can.
we did a lot of just going through and removing specific section numbers, and it may be that we inadvertently just said subsection.
You guys did a great job. I'm not criticizing at all. I'm just,
No, I would appreciate all the input.
yeah.
What wording would you suggest that could remain general? Could it say section administrative or something? Brandon?
I'll let
Brandon make okay.
Brandon make the decision.
Sounds good.
There's another, and I'm just really, I don't want to apologize if I'm being nitpicky, but in 801.8, we say any sign which does not comply with the ordinance erected after the effective date. Just want to make sure effective date, let's see, I think it's going to be of this revision. Is that not right? That's going to be February, if it's today, it's February, 12th, 2026. And if that's the case, I think there's somewhere else in the code, Savannah, that we also make a revision, because effective date's a defined term. So when you've got to do it twice.
Work is finished for
So it's not a part of this amendment. You get what I'm saying?
after the ordinance is
Yeah,
approved.
we'll-
When will the signs protesting the hotel lodge be obsolete?
Well, we can't regulate them by content. So as long as they follow all of the other provisions set out in the ordinance, as far as where the signs are allowed to be, et cetera, if they're not in town right of way, whatever rules may apply, as long as they follow those rules, they will never be obsolete, I guess.
And a big rule there is that the sign can't be in disrepair. It needs to be maintained. So if it's, without reading the content, it is turned into visibly trash and is not standing on its own supports or whatever disrepair would mean in, the determination of the zoning administrator, it can be addressed at that point.
Our next question is 802.2. At the end, it's signs in street right-of-way. It says any sign located in street right-of-way projecting is prohibited. This is a listing of prohibited signs. Except that one house number and/or nameplate shall be permissible for each dwelling, comma, subject to section 804.2. And 804.2
Signs on windows, huh?
is, the new 804.2 is number and nameplate signs. It says, signs and nameplate signs shall be displayed in a manner compliant with this ordinance. And somehow that just seems circular to me.
There's something in there about, maybe there's one about the lights and like that. That's next, somebody walk through some sort of.
So we're saying that they shall be permissible for each dwelling, subject to, what do we mean by subject to 804.2? Am I just, what am I not?
I don't see an 804.2.
There's a number which just says, signs and nameplate signs shall be displayed in a manner compliant with this ordinance. And I don't know what compliance, does that, I mean, that sort of presumes that there are certain standards and sizes, okay? But all the standards and sizes have been taken out that I can see, other places. So,
I don't think that's I don't think that reference is sending us to the right place, and it may not need to be there. Commissioner Blake, to a previous point you made about can an honorarium sign be posted to a rock, I think that there may be an issue with how we have posted signs written. In 802.7, which also references 804.2, but it makes more sense there because they're talking about house number and nameplate signs, though I still see the problem with the circular thing.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like when I looked over at the subcommittee members here, they came up and they got on the hot seat. I feel like most of these questions should be directed at council who was involved in drafting this. So I don't want you all to feel like you have to go through there and explain why these things don't match up. I'll make note of these and we'll clean this up and bring it back to this board. It's been a long time we've been working on this for a long time. So I apologize, but I hope another month doesn't set us back too far. And we should keep going. These are good edits, as always.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't mean to hold things up, but I do have a number of questions.
And I'm also happy to meet with you later, Mason, if you want to go through them.
Okay. Whatever you think is best.
And I'd defer to the board, obviously.
Why don't we do that? Let you two get together and bring it back to the board. Do we have to have another public hearing after the adjustments or the changes?
I think you could continue this public hearing to a date certain of your next meeting,
Okay.
and it wouldn't have to be re-advertised.
Do I have a motion then to continue this to a date certain?
That would be March 12th.
I have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Boucher. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second from Commissioner Alexander. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Can we have discussion for a second first before the vote?
Do what?
Discussion before the vote?
Sure.
With that continuance, there's no mention of getting together to discuss it. I've got a couple of other issues myself. And if there's two of us at least, then it has to be an open meeting. Okay, you're right. You're right.
So Tom and I could get together.
Okay.
I think what we can do, and just for the public's benefit as well, we can have Commissioner Widmer and Blake sit down with the town attorney, members of the subcommittee, and myself, and then go through all of their questions, make some edits, get that back out to town council for a read-through before the March meeting.
Good. There's a motion on the floor to continue this discussion on March 12th at our next meeting. Do I had a motion and a second? Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, guys. Resolution 2602-001, designating Barry Creasman as Deputy Finance Officer. Savannah?
So this is really just a formality. Barry has no intention of actually taking on any finance responsibilities day to day, but this formalizes us having a backup should the finance officer be out of the office. We need someone who is authorized to pre-audit, which is certify that we have the funds before we enter into contracts and such, and also to sign checks. So this will give Barry the authority to do that. And I did talk to him, he gave the thumbs up, but we chose Barry because it helps with separation of duties.
And Savannah and I had a conversation about that this week. With such a small staff and all of the things we have to do financially, you've got to be able to separate them. So next week, Mike Harrison will probably be signing checks, right?
He might.
He might. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second? Have a second. Have a motion by Commissioner Blake, second by Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. All those in favor signify. Discussion, anybody have any questions or any problems with this? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Savannah will do the SRF for Helene Water Resiliency Project resolution.
Yes, so as I mentioned, this resolution is the board's approval for us to pursue those state revolving funds for our water resiliency. This is just stating that if we were to get the funds, that we will provide for efficient maintenance and so on. But really, this is just the first step. You will also have to, should we be selected to receive funds, you all will have to approve it on the back end as well and accept the funds. So this is just a resolution approving us to move forward.
Have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the resolution as presented.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Commissioner Widmer made the motion. Commissioner Alexander seconded it. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry.
Can I just ask a question? What do you think the chances of us getting this? Because based on your description, it sounds wonderful.
So I don't want to be overly optimistic, but like I mentioned, Withers Ravenel is going to be helping us prepare this application if you all approve the budget amendment that I'm about to present to you, next item on the agenda. And Megan Powell, who would be the person helping us put our application together, mentioned that most communities scoring at least in the mid-50s are seeing funds, and she feels that we would score likely in the 70s. So they think our chances are really, really good at seeing some funding, which is very exciting.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carry. Budget amendment, Savannah?
So I mentioned we had received a FEMA disbursement. That total was $99,832.99. We would like to put all but $5,000 of those dollars into our Fund 29. We would like to divert $5,000 of those dollars to our water department to cover the, we have to have a sealed engineer's budget for this SRF application. And so that would cover that and the administrative cost of having Withers Ravenel help us prepare our application. And that would be coming out of the water fund because it is related to water resiliency.
Any questions of Savannah? I have a motion.
Move to approve budget amendment number 8.
I have a motion from Commissioner Blake to approve budget amendment 8. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem Fouché. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is probably the most fun thing I've done since we did the guineas. Whereas wintry weather, including snow, sleet, and freezing rain, has fallen and abnormally cold weather has enveloped the town of Montreat in recent weeks. And whereas the above-named weather has created havoc for our citizens, disrupting lives in a myriad of ways. And whereas the pizza establishments and the food delivery service have been overrun by requests for deliveries, and garbage and recycling cans have been overrun by the inability of town of Montreat sanitation to make its normal pickups. And whereas the local merchants have had their stock of everyday items such as bread, milk, propane, shovels, ice melt, and sleds depleted numerous times. And whereas treacherous road conditions have prevented residents from being able to leave their homes, resulting in severe and preventable cases of cabin fever. And whereas children out of school for extended periods of time have left parents frazzled. And in the attempt to find these children, find child care, assist with remote learning, resist the urge to find an online mental health provider. Now therefore it be resolved that I, in my capacity as mayor of town of Montreat, do hereby proclaim that Old Man Winter shall not be permitted within the town limits of Montreat for the remainder of the winter 2026. If he dare return, he shall immediately leave or face revocation of his license to return in the future. Signed this day, the 12th of February 2026, under my signature. I don't know who did this, who came up with this.
Yes.
That was Miss Angie.
But it's official.
Thank you, Angie.
Better than the groundhog. Let's see, what have we got? Public comment. Anybody want to follow that with public comment? No one? Commissioner communication? We got dates to remember. The Board of Adjustment is Thursday, February the 26th, to 5 p.m. in Town Hall. Stonebridge Advisory Committee, Monday, March the 2nd, 10 a.m., Town Hall. Land Care, Wednesday, March the 4th, 9 a.m., Town Hall. Tree Board, Tuesday, March 10, 2026, 9 a.m., Town Hall. Town Council meeting will be Thursday, March the 12th, 2026, at 6 p.m. in Town Hall. The public forum will start at 5:30 p.m. Board of Adjustment, Thursday, March 26, 2026, 5 p.m. in Town Hall. Land Care, Wednesday, April 21st, 2026, at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. Good Friday, town offices will be closed on Friday, April the 3rd. Town Council meeting, Thursday, April 9, 2026, 6 p.m. Town Hall. Public forum will begin at 5:30. Land Care Festival, Saturday, April the 11th, 2026, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. at Morse Center, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Morse Center. All those are available by Zoom except for the Land Care Festival. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fouché. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second from Commissioner Alexander. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming and participation.